Welcome to today's podcast. Let me see. Let me fix my little microphone a little bit. Hopefully, y'all get the best sound quality. Because I know whenever y'all don't get the best sound quality, it's just uncomfortable and it makes you not want to listen. Honestly, I could go on a bunch of spews on here and hopefully get somebody's opinion on it eventually. But for today, we're going to stick to tough conversation nowadays, but the conversation of God and the word God. I think that is an important thing to look at, just the word God itself. Spike. Sorry, I have a dog and a cat outside. It's a pit bull and a black cat. But the pit bull tends to be a little overly curious and overwhelming to the cat. Yeah, I told you, man, you're being overwhelming. It's like all over him. I guess it makes the cat a bit aggressive. Yeah. But, Spike, leave him alone. Sorry, the distractions. Might have to. Outside your room, a little bit. Alright, but sorry about that. Back to, as I was saying, the word God. I was actually talking to a very special lady of mine last night about it. And, she tends to not be as religious as I am, which I understand. Not everybody can have blind faith in a higher power because a lot of people have questions that are going unanswered. But I feel like the gift that God gave humans is the fact that we can think about things logically. No other animal can be a logical animal. So I think that whenever you put your blind faith in something, you will get something out of it. But at the same time, you may do negative actions on the while during this blind faith, I guess. But I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic. But back to the Word of God. It's the fact that it's been used by man. It's a man-made word, and it's been used by man to do so much evil. It's been used by man to endure so much corruption, to endure so much empowerment, to endure so much segregation, to endure so much separation, to endure slavery. And I think that this is why people are turned away from religion in this day and age. Because they hear religion and they hear God and they think, I'm being suppressed, I'm being dictated, I'm being controlled. And I don't think that's what God is. I think God is love. I think that a better word for God would be love. Because I feel like God loves us all. And I feel like, I'm going through the Bible right now. I haven't finished it. But what I'm getting out of the Old Testament is that there is no such thing as good and evil. It's all been socially constructed. That everything has a balance. I can kill somebody today and you can't tell me if it was a right or a wrong action unless we try to prove it logically. Because at the end of the day, if I kill somebody today and you kill me, well, what if that person was just out there slaughtering, families? Does that make you a better person for taking my life if I thought it was in my best power to get rid of this person because of their negative actions? And I think this is where it's gray area of, one shall not murder, but it's not one shall not kill. Because at the end of the day, some people just get lost in this world. And I really hope that they're able to find themselves within God. But I think that eventually, if someone is so lost and is doing so many negative things, someone else that is also doing negative things is eventually going to come around and, everything comes around. But I don't think God wants this. I think God puts people here to spread love, positivity, and joy, and hoping that one day somebody could be on the verge of, doing something. One day somebody could be on the edge of doing something, and they just stop. Because you were willing to sit there and listen to them. Because you were willing to use your manners and just say thank you. Because you were willing to just give them a smile. Because you were just willing to love them a little bit. They just stop and appreciate life a little bit more. And I think this is I know I like to ask the question of what is perfection, but this is my idea of perfection. It's man without negativity. It's man that learns to control his negative emotions and to put it to good use. It's the fact that if you have anxiety and you feed into that anxiety is going to become your reality. But if you have anxiety and you think about your anxiety and you figure out solutions to your anxiety, then if that situation were to ever arise, you know how to handle it. That's the beautiful thing about humans. I don't have to be in a school shooting to know how to handle a school shooting, because I can create one within my mind and I can learn how to handle it within my mind. And things like the Stoics said, the whole point of life is to live a happy, healthy, virtuous life. But in order to do this, we have to be in harmony with nature, in harmony with the world. I think that because we've done so much damage to the world, that we've gotten so much out of it. We've gotten so much technology and we've become so advanced. But I think that the more damage, the more advanced and the more comfort we seek, the farther we're gonna get from it, and the farther we're gonna get from loving this earth. I think that we've made it far enough. That humans have done enough bad actions to know what right and wrong is, and that humans have learned enough from history to know, like, hey, don't do that. I think this is why it's time that we stop just doing actions without thinking of them, and just realize that every action has an equal and or greater opposite reaction. So you should, make sure that you're sending nothing but positivity out there, and you're going to attract nothing but positivity. And maybe there may be some bad things that happen to you sometimes, but see these as a test from God or as a test of love, instead of seeing them as something negative. See, and it's like I compared it to the SATs yesterday. It's like, well, I don't want to take the SATs. Let's say I'm a student that's taking the SATs and I don't want to take the SATs, right? Why am I taking the SATs? I'm not doing it to take that test in the moment. I'm doing it for the SAT score that I'm going to get a couple months down the line. And I'm doing it because I'm hoping that SAT score can better my chances at getting a better future. And I think that you should look at every challenge or every test that God gives you, everything. Anything that you can't control that makes you feel uncomfortable in life, that is a challenge from God, because you can't control it. And He is trying to get you to grow out of it. And it's like, you get punched, instead of thinking about where the punch hits you and how much it hurt, try to think, hey, that's my opening, and let me block that next time. But yeah, I just went on that little spiel about why I think there's so much negative cognition behind the word God, because the fact that, somewhere in history, a man has always used that word to empower himself. And I think it's always been a man thing of looking for empowerment. It's become more of a woman thing recently, and I think it's amazing. Definitely empower women. I think we need to learn that it's a balance, that nobody's better than anybody. That if man and woman were created in the image of God, that neither man or woman are in the image of God. Both of them are. But yeah, man, I was reading Abraham's story about how the king of Egypt favored his wife, and he wanted his way with his wife. And Abraham said that God told him the best thing to do was to tell him, the king, that was his sister, and allow him to take his wife, and that God would repay this rightful action since he would not invoke negativity. And then the king gets some disease or something. But what I took out of the story is that sometimes cowardness is the right answer. What I didn't like about the story was the fact that if you ask a woman about that story, they're going to tell you that they feel uncomfortable or they don't feel okay with what it says. It's the fact that that man never took that woman's feelings into consideration, never really talked about it, never really, told her anything, which I guess was the standard at the time. But I feel like we've grown out of that nowadays. We need to get out of that mindset that, if I tell you something, especially as a man to a woman, you have to follow that way. I think that you should never hold anybody up to your own standard, because that's just making yourself unhappy. Because no one's ever gonna... Because you view yourself as being perfect, then you're not perfect. You need to accept the imperfections in order to be happy. But you like to think that you're perfect, so you like to try to, or you like to see where you're perfect, where you're best at, and you like to hold other people up to those standards. Someone that's good at respect tends to expect respect from others. Me, I'm very respectful, and if someone disrespects me, that's okay, because I understand that that's within their right. and that's just a test from God because I can't control their actions. But it's the fact that nowadays it's like we hold people to our own standard. If I don't eat meat, you have to not eat meat. If I like men, you have to like men. If you know, if I don't accept somebody, you have to not accept them too in order for us to get along. No, I think that either being left wing or either being right wing is awful. It's what God would have never wanted. It's the fact that if God truly represents love, peace, and unity, God wouldn't want these man-made words that create division and somewhat suppression amongst us. It's the fact that because someone can be called, homosexual, that somebody out there can look at them negatively. No, they just love somebody. They just found their love in somebody else, and it's okay as long as that came naturally to them. It's okay. But yeah, I think that's where the negative feelings of God come from. It's just the fact that it's like we're humans. God gave us the free will and ability to think. We're gonna question God. But I think it's important that whenever you question God, you think about it logically, and like the Stoics said, use physics and logic to prove your ethics. And not only that, but if you can get an answer to a question, instead of letting that question harbor negativity amongst you or make you feel bad, why not just pray to God and hope that He gives you an answer? And what happens if He does give you an answer a week from then? Then you get the answer and you grow from it. What happens if He doesn't? Then you forget about the question and you move on with your life. And maybe one day that question will arise again when it's more important. And maybe then that's when you'll get the answer. But yeah, I like to say that because I like to refer God as, peace, love. I don't think that there is no such thing as good and bad under the realm of God, and that God has feelings. This is what I got out of the Old Testament. That God has a lot of the feelings of man, of like pride, anger, sadness, just a lot of emotions, right? And I think that God has learned to control these emotions to love man. I think this is why God, hasn't, had some great extinction come upon us yet. Because honestly, if God was really prideful, He would have gotten rid of us a long time ago. Because we're disrespectful as fuck. And I think that that's why He hasn't gotten rid of us. Because He's gotten rid of these negative emotions to prove to us that He's God. And that in order for us to reach His kingdom, we also have to remove ourselves from negative emotions. But yeah, I think that anytime you read the Bible and it makes you question it, ask the right questions. Because at the end of the day, it's more important about you feeling comfortable with your connection and your relationship to God instead of others dictating your relationship to God. Your relationship to God is your own. It's up to you. It's subjective to your personality, your perspective, and what life you've lived. My relationship to God is subjective to me, to my life, to what I've lived, to whatever I've experienced, and what is working best to make my life a better life. But also, I think that if someone, shows you something, to know it, I said this yesterday, to know everything is to know nothing, and to know nothing is to know everything. And what I mean by this is that if someone shows you something or someone tells you something, never reject any knowledge. Even if you view it as negativity at first, criticism, don't reject it. Because at the end of the day, that is constructive criticism, since you are not perfect. We are not perfect creations of God, and we will never be perfect on our own. I think that if you everything as constructive criticism, someone tells me I'm short, I'm like, yeah, thank God I'm short. Who knows? Maybe if I was taller, I don't know, I'd pop a joint. My body would be more vulnerable. I just wouldn't be as happy with myself as I am. And if I was, I guess I would be, because it's a blessing from God, something I can control. Or, laugh at your insecurities. You know what? I am short. Ha ha ha. Or you know what? Let me see. What else am I doing? What other insecurities do I have? Someone tells me I'm never going to be the best at anything. Most people, you view it as they're talking down to me. They're downplaying me. No, they're right. Only God is perfect. I can never be perfect at everything. I will never be the absolute best at everything. But I can do my. But you know what I would say? I know that. I understand that. But I can do my hardest to do my best, because that's all we can do. Do our hardest to do our best. But yeah, view everything as constructive criticism. Someone tells you, "Hey, don't go that way." You initially may think that they're trying to control you and they're trying to tell you not to go that way because they have their own motives or they have their own thought process. But no, I think that most people, if they tell you not to do something, it's out of love. Like if my mom tells me not to go out there and go 100 miles on the freeway, it's because she knows that there's danger at the end of that. And if she knows if I decide to do that, she's gonna pray over me and hope that God protects me. But if He doesn't, it was because I didn't listen to her. She, first told me, don't do that. But yeah, I think that's why it's important to spread love and peace, man. Like if you see a homeless man out there, instead of seeing him as a homeless man and a bum, view him as another human being that has lived a life that's very different from yours. Where you chose a life of comfort, they chose a life of suffering. And ask yourself, why are they living their life like this? Because homeless people have hella wisdom. I was in one of my sociology classes last year, and my teacher, Dr. Bradshaw, was telling us about the 5 categories of society. And it's basically, people that accept society for what it is, but reject, or accept society for what it is and accept the means to get there. So, people that go to college and, get a good job and eventually make 6 figures, they're not rich, they're not wealthy, they're upper class. Or it's the people that reject society, or accept society but reject the means to get there, which are our innovators, people that kind of just get lucky and make something. And these people are kind of chosen by, I guess, the higher ups in society. Because, if you go against what society says, they kind of don't want you there. And then the people that reject what society wants you to do, but accept the means to get there. Accept what society wants you to do, but reject the means. Reject what society, sorry, I got a brain fart. Reject what society wants you to do, but accept the means to get there. And it's basically people that kind of grow up their whole life working at a gas station or never doing much with themselves because they realize that at the end of the day, they're not happy in society. That society has become unnatural for them, so they're going to do their best to just live. They don't worry too much about becoming rich, wealthy, because they don't view that as a prosperous thing in life. They reject the means of society. So, and I love these people. These people tend to be the people that are coolest people ever, because they're the people that have different values than money. And that's what I love about these people. These people don't value, going to work every day and getting a paycheck. No, they value going to work every day and just enjoying work. Even if they don't enjoy it, just trying their hardest to enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, that's their life that they've chosen. And then you have the people that reject society and reject the means to get there. These are the people that you consider hobos, bums, just people that reject society. What I realized is that why are we to hate on these people for rejecting society if society has become such a nasty, unnatural thing? There's no reason for me to sit here and down talk a homeless person when I can honestly understand why they are the way they are. Like, it's the fact that if I go out there to a store or shoe store and want to buy a pair of shoes, I have to struggle to find a pair of shoes that wasn't made in a sweatshop. That is going against my moral standards right there. Just to live in society, I have to break my morals. And I think this is why so many people are lost, because they are, breaking their morals and living in society. But I honestly, I love these homeless people because they have given up their comfort in order to try to just not feed into that, I guess. And a lot of them, do crack, do drugs, do a lot of these things, but it's because it's essentially the only thing that they can control in their life. They can't control the fact that children are out there starving. They can't control the fact that, there are sweatshops and there are basically slave factories out there. But they can at least control what they put into their body every single day. And, I guess they choose to do something negative. Not only that, but I also like to get into the topic of drug addicts. Whenever you hear about a crackhead, I want you to never feel any negative emotions or any negativity towards them, because that person is going through a lot. Their body feels like it quite literally physically needs crack. And like if it does not receive crack, it will die. It will shut down. And they go through this for a week, of living hell for a week. And the reason I say this is because crack is an unnatural drug. It's a man-made drug. I think anything that is unnatural is whenever you start getting into the gray area of is it good or bad. And I think crack is one of those things that it is a very unnatural man-made drug that has a lot of negative, bad side effects. And not only that, but it is physically addictive, meaning that your body begins to chemically rely on it. So I think that, why do we continue to pump drug out there or crack out there? The war on drugs, the crack initiative, all these different things that just have that, say one thing but do the other thing. It's what I like to question, but I think that at the end of the day, God will bring balance to this earth. I don't mean that in necessarily, half the humans are gone. No, it's more of, half the humans or majority of humans learn how to understand each other, and half of us can think one way, half of us can think of another, but we can find a common middle ground. I think that's the most important thing. Now, whenever you go into a discussion or argument with somebody, you never, look for being far left or far right. You always look for a middle ground. But, yeah, I guess I've been going on for 20 minutes now, so I'll wrap it up. God is love. God is peace. If you hear the word God and you get scared, don't, just think the word God, think the word love, because that's essentially what he represents. The only thing that you can control is yourself and your environment. So make sure that, you are being your best self, sending nothing but positivity and happiness into the universe, and that you have nothing but the cleanliest environment around you. And if anything feels uncleanly in your environment, if someone feels uncleanly in their environment, try to communicate with them. And if they're refusing to listen to you, then this is whenever it's not up to you. It's up to God to save that person. You must remove that person from your life. But yeah, just here to give a little bit of wisdom. Hopefully I can get this thing started up and get going, decently sized. And I can start getting people on here and just hearing not only my voice but others. Because I think that's what helps people be at ease, knowing that they're being heard. I want to hear y'all. But yeah, y'all have a great day. I hope, you have a good one. Love y'all.